Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to take that dense, critical knowledge from the sources you share with us and really just pull out the essential insights for you. And today, we're analyzing some fascinating material on a pretty unexpected hazard, comprehensive snake hazard management. We're talking everything from site control all the way to emergency medical protocols.
And right away, the sources they completely challenge this idea of a snake bite being a total accident, like stepping on a hidden snake.
Right, the classic scenario everyone imagines.
Exactly. But the statistics actually show that the vast majority of bites happen because the snake was, provoked.
Provoked.
So this isn't just about avoiding a rare accident. It's about training and awareness to prevent what is fundamentally a human error.
That reframes the entire topic. I mean, we aren't preparing for an act of nature so much as a preventable human encounter. So with that in mind, we've broken this down into three main pillars for you.
3 actionable areas.
Exactly. First, proactive prevention. So how to make a site just physically unattractive to snakes. Then, personal protection and awareness. That's the gear you need. And more importantly, how you need to behave.
And finally, the big one. Critical emergency response. This is where we get into the life-saving details that, frankly, most people get dangerously wrong.
Okay, let's jump in. Section 1, proactive defense. This is all about site management, right? Before we even think about what people are doing.
That's it. This is your passive defense strategy. You're denying snakes the 2 things they absolutely need to thrive: shelter and food.
Okay, let's start with shelter. The sources really emphasize that tidiness isn't just for looks here. It's strategic. They call out removing piles of rocks, scrap wood, metal, all that kind of debris. What's the thinking there?
It's all about thermal regulation and protection. Snakes are cold-blooded, so a pile of rocks or some scrap metal, it heats up in the sun, and it holds that warmth long into the evening.
So it's like a little heated apartment for them.
It's a perfect microclimate. It's a place to hide, digest, wait for prey. If you take that away, if the area is open and exposed, they are far less likely to stick around.
And we're basically eliminating the snake's thermostat. Got it. But what about materials you have to keep on site, like lumber or piping? The sources had a very strict rule for that.
They did. Everything must be stored on elevated racks, not directly on the ground.
And that's a crucial difference, isn't it? It connects back to the food source.
Absolutely, because when you stack things on the ground, you create these little crawl spaces, these runways for rodents. You elevate the racks, you make it much less appealing for rats and mice.
And rats and mice are the primary food source for most of these snakes.
Exactly. So you're cutting off the buffet supply chain. Effective pest control is snake control. Managing food waste, securing your garbage, it's a foundational strategy.
Okay, so that covers debris and pests. What about the natural environment? Vegetation and water.
Snakes are always drawn to moist, cool spots, especially when it's hot out. So you have to be really diligent about water management. Fix any leaks, get rid of standing water even if it's just in a bucket. Those spots are like a beacon for them.
And for vegetation, the sources offer this. It's a great kind of counterintuitive idea.
Yeah.
Safety through exposure.
That's a great way to put it. You need to trim grass, weeds, bushes, everything, low to the ground, especially around the edges of a site or walkways.
Why is that?
Because snakes feel incredibly vulnerable out in the open. They want to travel undercover. If you create a clear, low-cut perimeter, what some call a snake-free buffer zone, they are very, very hesitant to cross it.
And for those really high-risk sites, the sources talk about physical barriers. We all know to seal gaps and cracks, but they get really specific about professional snake fencing.
Yeah, the nuance here is what makes it work. It has to be a fine mesh, that's the first thing, but critically, it has to be buried a few inches into the ground.
Buried, stop them from digging under.
To stop them from just burrowing right under it. And this is the part most people don't think about. It has to be angled outward at the top.
Angled outward? I hadn't considered that. Why the outward slope?
It's designed to beat climbers. If a snake tries to go up the fence, that outward angle messes with their center of gravity. They can't get a grip, and they tend to just slide back down and retreat.
That little detail is the difference between a fence and a real barrier.
It really is.
Okay, fantastic practical insight. That covers site prep. Now let's move into Section 2, the personal shield. Because even on the best prep site, it comes down to the individual.
Exactly. We're shifting focus to personal preparation and just pure behavior, starting with PPE, personal protective equipment. It's all about anticipating where a strike is most likely to happen, and that is almost always the lower leg.
Which brings us to boots. The source specifies sturdy work boots at least 10 inches tall. Is that really high enough?
It's the minimum standard. It gives you good protection for the ankle and lower calf from most, accidental strikes in low grass. But, and this is a big but, the sources are clear. If you are in a high-risk area, tall grass, dense brush, you need to upgrade. You need puncture-proof snake gaiters or chaps over your boots.
So the boot is your baseline. The gaiter is the essential upgrade for tough terrain. What about for your hands, if you're handling materials?
Always thick leather or Kevlar gloves, no question. So many bites happen when people are reaching into a wood pile or lifting something up where a snake is hiding. Your hands need protection just as much as your legs.
And this is where situational awareness becomes everything. Let's talk about what they call the never blindly reach rule. This seems to be the core behavioral change.
It is the single most common cause of provocation bites. It's so simple. Do not put your hands or your feet anywhere you cannot see, under a log, into a pile of brush, between stacked materials. If your eyes can't clear it, you have to assume it's occupied.
So what if you have to move something, like a log or a piece of sheet metal? There's a very specific technique the sources describe.
There is, and it's brilliant. You don't just grab it. You use a hook or a long tool, and you lift the far side toward you.
The far side toward you. Why is that specific movement so critical?
Because the object itself becomes a shield between you and whatever is underneath. And if there is a snake there, lifting the far side gives it an escape route. Away from you. Into the open. It dramatically reduces the chance of a defensive strike.
That is a massive takeaway. Such a simple action. Okay, let's talk about their senses. We know they don't really hear, but they are incredibly sensitive to vibrations in the ground.
Precisely. They use vibrations to find prey, but also to detect threats. So the sources actually recommend making a bit of noise. Stomp your feet, drag a tool, talk loudly as you walk into a new area. It's an early warning system that encourages the snake to move away before you even get there.
And timing is key too.
Yeah.
When should we be on highest alert?
Extra cautious in warm weather, for sure, and specifically at dusk and at night. That's prime time for a lot of species that hunt rodents.
Now let's cover the protocol for when you actually do see a snake. Because the human instinct is often not the right one.
That instinct to engage has to be completely shut down. If you see a snake, you stop, you just freeze, and then you slowly back away. Do not approach it. Do not try to handle it. And whatever you do, do not try to catch or kill it. That is when the risk skyrockets.
Okay, so you've backed away. What's next?
Immediate notification. Tell your supervisor, tell everyone working nearby. And removal, this is non-negotiable, must be done by a certified professional snake catcher, never ever by untrained staff. The risk of an injury during an amateur removal attempt is just way too high.
Okay, that brings us to our final and maybe most critical pillar. Section 3, emergency response and first aid. This is where prevention has failed, and every second counts.
And it's not just about speed, it's about precision. The moment a bite happens, two things need to happen at once. Call for help, 911 or your local emergency service, and notify the supervisor. You treat every single bite as a life-threatening emergency, even if you think it was a dry bite or a non-venomous snake.
You don't take chances. So after the call is made, you get the victim away from the snake, and then absolute stillness. Why is that so critical?
Because venom travels through the body primarily via the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system is pumped by muscle movement. So if the victim is walking or panicking or agitated, they are actively speeding up the venom spread.
So help comes to the victim. The victim does not walk to help.
Never. Even if it's just a few feet to a car, stillness is the single best tool you have to slow things down.
And before medical help arrives, there are some prep steps. Removing jewelry, watches, tight clothing.
Immediately. Swelling can be incredibly fast and severe. A watch or a ring can become a tourniquet in minutes, cutting off blood flow and making the injury so much worse. Then you just gently wash the wound with soap and water and cover it with a clean, dry dressing.
What about positioning the wound? The old advice was always keep it below the heart. Is that still the rule?
It's complicated. The sources acknowledge that historical practice, the idea of using gravity to slow circulation, but the modern medical consensus is that absolute stillness is more important. If trying to keep the limb below the heart makes the person uncomfortable or causes them to move, then don't. Just keep the limb neutral and completely still. Movement is the bigger enemy.
This leads us to the biggest, most crucial conflict in first aid, the real aha moment from the sources. Let's talk about pressure immobilization bandaging, or PIB.
Right. So PIB is a technique where you use a firm elastic bandage and you wrap the entire limb starting at the bite site. And in some parts of the world, like Australia, it is absolutely life-saving. It's for snakes with neurotoxic venom, cobras, taipans, that sort of thing. That venom attacks the nervous system. It causes paralysis, respiratory failure. PIB is incredibly effective at slowing that down.
And this is a huge but. The source material says you absolutely do not use PIB for other types of snakes, like the pit vipers we have all over North America, rattlesnakes, copperheads. Why is it so dangerous in that case?
Because their venom is completely different. It's hemotoxic or cytotoxic. It's designed to destroy blood cells and local tissue. It causes horrific swelling, bleeding, necrosis tissue, death. If you apply a tight pressure bandage to that kind of bite, you're trapping all that tissue-destroying venom in one place. You are concentrating it.
Wow.
You drastically speed up the tissue death and practically guarantee the loss of that limb.
So a generic first aid kit, a generic approach, is actively dangerous. You have to know the snakes in your specific region.
It is the highest stakes piece of information in this entire deep dive. What saves a life from one type of bite will cost a limb from another. It all comes down to knowing your local species.
Unbelievable. Okay, so if swelling starts, what's the procedure for tracking it?
You take a pen, you mark the leading edge of the swelling right on the skin, and you write the time next to it. Do it again every 15 or 20 minutes. This gives the hospital an objective visual timeline of how fast the venom is progressing. It's crucial data for them.
All right, let's wrap this section up with the 5 critical do-nots. The things you see in movies that can cause serious harm.
Okay, number 1, and we can't say this enough, do not apply a tourniquet. It cuts off all blood flow and will almost certainly lead to amputation.
Number 2, do not cut the wound or try to suck out the venom. You're just causing more tissue damage and introducing infection. It doesn't work.
Number 3, do not apply ice or immerse the wound in water. Extreme temperatures can make the tissue damage worse.
And the last 2 are about what you ingest. Do not drink alcohol.
Right, speeds up your circulation. And critically, number 5, do not take pain medications like aspirin or ibuprofen.
Why not?
Because they're blood thinners. Many venoms already contain powerful anti-clotting agents. If you combine them, you risk catastrophic bleeding.
So a huge amount of ground covered. Let's recap the 3 pillars. Prevention, control your clutter, your food, your water. Protection, wear the right gear, 10-inch boots, gaiters, and always use that never blindly reach rule. And response. Stay calm, stay still, and know the specific first aid for your region.
And if we bring this back to you, the listener, and your journey here, the real value is understanding just how high the stakes are when it comes to medical specifics. We've just learned that a treatment that is life-saving in one part of the world is limb-destroying in another.
The sources all circle back to this one point. Effective first aid depends entirely on the type of venomous snake you're dealing with. If your prevention fails, that knowledge becomes the single most critical factor in survival, which leaves you with an essential question to explore next. Are you truly prepared, not just to avoid the snakes in your area, but to accurately identify the specific threat and the correct response native to your immediate environment?